to eastern and southern Kentucky. This is WYMT Mountain News Weekend Edition.
Good evening, I'm Amelia Lee. 10 days after Helene hit parts of the southeast, government groups are still trying to get a complete idea of the damage. FEMA has sent teams out with search and rescue crews to look through Asheville's River Arts District. Once a thriving cultural center, now submerged under multiple feet of water. There are 75 missing people from that area, and many mountain communities are still trying to get through blocked roads. So far, we know the hurricane has claimed the lives of 227 Americans, making it the country's second deadliest storm behind Katrina. Donations are still pouring in for victims of Helene from folks throughout the country, including here in eastern Kentucky. WYMT's RJ Johnson shares why it is important to give back.
Seeing the devastation Helene left on Tennessee and North Carolina brought back many memories for Appalachian Pet Pantry founder Tara Ritchie.
And when we seen what they were going through, we immediately flashed back to ourselves 2 years ago. And going through the flood of 22 here, we knew that these people were in a dire situation and they were going to need help from all around the country.
Ritchie says she immediately began collecting food, collars, and other pet supplies, taking them to folks who lost everything.
Just in about 8 days, collect up about $5,000 worth of pet supplies. We rented a U-Haul and filled it up and jumped in and headed to Tennessee. We stopped in Irwin, Tennessee and met some great groups out there. We were able to fill them up with supplies, which were in high demand at that time.
Taking the roads once again to Asheville, North Carolina.
From there, we linked up with another organization that was headed into the most devastated areas of Asheville, North Carolina, and we were able to give them supplies to take with them to get to those areas that were still not very accessible.
Ritchie says they will continue collecting donations as long as the need is still there.
All the donations that we received, those came from our community. We are just one of the organizations from Letcher County who are serving in this effort, and we were just happy to be a part of our effort representing East Kentucky.
To continue returning the favor. In Letcher County, RJ Johnson, WYMT Mountain News.
Ritchie says you can drop off donations online or the relief fund as well. You can find more information on our website, WYMT.com. And there are still a lot of needs to be met in Tennessee and North Carolina following Hurricane Helene. But once those essential needs are taken care of, one Kentucky musician will be handing out goods that aim to help the soul. Michael Jonathan with Woodsong uses a musical platform to highlight the music of Appalachia. Jonathan says he and other volunteers are collecting donated instruments to give free of charge to Helene survivors. A relief effort they have done before following the western Kentucky tornadoes and eastern Kentucky floods.
They don't care about music right now. They care about their life, their family, their missing loved one, their house is gone. But when that issue goes below the fold, so to speak, that's when Woodsongs will be there.
Jonathan is asking any Kentuckians with playable instruments that they want to part with to drop those off here at the Kentucky Theater in Lexington. You can drop off those donations now until January 1st. One person is dead after a crash in Harlan County this afternoon. The Harlan County Coroner's Office says the crash happened on Highway 2005 in the Pathfort community. 50-year-old Richard Collis II was pronounced dead at the scene by the coroner. Officials say Collis went for a drive and was reported missing when he did not come home. A person searching for Collis said he found the truck over an embankment. 4 men from Louisville are now facing federal gun charges after prosecutors say they illegally tried to sell weapons to Iraq. The 4 are facing several charges. An indictment says the men bought weapons from federal firearms licensees at a gun show in the Louisville area. U.S. prosecutors say they then delivered those weapons to al-Dulami, who arranged to smuggle the guns into Iraq illegally without a license. 38 firearms were seized by law enforcement from a shipment that was intended for Iraq.
Well, it could be our last 80-degree day of the year. Not exactly sure as of yet, but our pattern We have a cold front coming through, and that's going to drop our temperatures. Let's look at those observed temperatures that we had today. We were in the mid 80s, low 80s, and then it started to cool down. Current temperatures right now sitting at around that 70-degree mark, or even some mid 60s that we have going on right now, and it's going to continue to cool down rapidly through the next little bit. Our low temperatures tonight are going to be in the mid to low 50s, could even see some high 40s in some areas, and that's just the start of what we have going on. Cold fronts pushing through eastern Kentucky right now, and I'm going to have a little bit more information on that in your first alert forecast, but we do have a small chance of rain associated with that cold front, and that is hitting right now into the overnight hours, and it's also going to leave us dry and cool. Amelia?
All right, Drake, thank you. Well, you might have heard recently about the Earth gaining a mini moon for the next couple of months as an asteroid gets caught up in Earth's orbit. Dr. Tom Troland, an astronomer with the University of Kentucky, explained that an asteroid roughly the size of a school bus named 2024 PT5 has temporarily been caught in our planet's gravity while on its orbit around the sun. The asteroid will only stick around until the end of November.
Right now, this moon is gravitationally attached in a very weak sense to the Earth. This thing really is mini. This object itself is estimated to be only about 40 feet across.
Because of its distance from the Earth and its minuscule size, you will have to rely on images from high-powered large telescopes to catch a glimpse of the mini moon. Tomorrow will mark 1 week since the Farm Bill expired, a bill that works to fund programs for things like crop insurance, SNAP, and WIC. While funding should last through the rest of the year, it won't last much longer than that. Farmers are pushing for it to be a priority when lawmakers reconvene in November after Election Day. We have seen extreme weather impacts to farmers nationwide, like here in Kentucky with the summer drought impacting much of the state.
While they have not released text of a farm bill in the Senate, they've released a framework, and that framework is just very far removed from where the House version is. And that's just the unfortunate nature of where politics stands right now.
Farmers are looking for a completely new version of the Farm Bill with a focus on the safety net that protects them in hard times. That includes updating the prices used to calculate the aid they received, adjusted estimates for crop insurance, and stronger trade agreements. October 1st marked the start of fire season here in eastern Kentucky. Fire crews in the mountains say they want folks to be prepared and safe. WYMT's Austin Hicks tells us what we can expect and some tips on how to stay safe this fire season.
During fire season, folks can expect to see an increase in the amount of wildfires in the area. Pikeville firefighter Hunter Farron says there are multiple factors that can contribute to the increase in wildfires.
Our fuels are drier, there's more fuel on the ground. The leaves are coming down, they're going to pile up, it's going to give us a bigger fuel load. It's going to be easier to catch as they dry up. So people burning or just natural things that can cause a fire, it's just going to make the fire spread quickly.
Before Hurricane Helene made its way into Kentucky, the area was in a drought, which would have made the possibility of wildfires more likely. After the rain from Helene, the ground will not be as dry. Farron says this could lead to a decrease in fires.
I think we would have been really busy prior to the rain because everything was just so dry. It hadn't seen any moisture in a long time. So I think it would have been, it would have burnt hotter. As temperatures would have rose, it would have been a lot easier to start and to keep going and spread.
To help prevent the chances of a fire from occurring, there is a burn ban in place. This prevents people from burning anything from 6 in the morning until 6 in the evening. To prevent the spread of a potential fire, Farron says folks can clean up leaves and brush from around their house.
Keep it away from there in case it does catch. It's not going to get close to their residence. If you've got outbuildings and stuff, make sure they're stored away from the house. Some people have wood piles. Keep them away from structures and by themselves. That way if it catches and it's not close to anything, to be able to catch up.
For more information on fire season laws, you can contact your local fire department. In Pikeville, Austin Hicks, WYMT Mountain News.
Officials say if you are burning, it has to be 150 feet away from any structure or wood line. Coming up at 11, we will have a look ahead of what will be happening in Washington in the next week to come.
And the cold front is here, and our forecast looks to be much cooler and drier. I have the details on how long this pattern sticks around in your first alert forecast.